Could swapping Morgan Rielly for Dougie Hamilton finally give the Leafs the defensive edge they've desperately needed for years? You know that feeling when you're watching your team play and you just know something's missing? That nagging sensation that despite all the talent, all the firepower up front, there's still a piece of the puzzle that doesn't quite fit? Well, Leafs Nation, that feeling might be about to get addressed in the most unexpected way possible. Because right now, as we speak, there's a trade scenario brewing that could fundamentally reshape the Toronto Maple Leafs blue line and involve saying goodbye to one of the franchise's longest tenure players. NHL insider Frank Saravalli just dropped a bombshell that's got the hockey world buzzing. According to his latest report, Dougie Hamilton's name has rocketed to the top of the trade target list, and the implications for Toronto are absolutely massive. We're not just talking about adding depth here, folks. We're talking about a potential game-changing move that could address multiple needs in one fell swoop. Let's set the stage. Over in New Jersey, the Devils find themselves in a fascinating position. They've got Dougie Hamilton, a legitimate top-tier defenseman who's been a cornerstone of their blue line. But here's where it gets interesting. The Devils have their sights set on something even bigger. They want to bring Quinn Hughes to New Jersey to unite all three Hughes brothers on the same team. Jack and Luke are already there, and the thought of adding Quinn to complete the trifecta, that's the kind of storyline that makes general managers lose sleep in the best way possible. But here's the cold, hard reality of the NHL salary cap. You can't have your cake and eat it too. The Devils simply cannot afford both Hamilton and Quinn Hughes. Someone's got to go, and all signs point to it being Dougie. Hamilton carries a cap hit that mirrors Morgan Rielly's contract, and with the Devils needing to clear significant space to make the Hughes reunion happen, Hamilton becomes the obvious choice to move. Saravalli made it crystal clear. It seems like at some point, whether that's now or in March, Dougie Hamilton is going to be on the trade target board. And when an insider of Saravalli's caliber says something like that, you better believe general managers across the league are picking up their phones. Now, let's talk about what Hamilton brings to the table, because this isn't just any defenseman we're discussing here. This is a 6'6", 230-pound beast who combines size, skill, and offensive prowess in a package that very few players in the league can match. Last season alone, Hamilton put up 40 points in 64 games for the Devils. That included 10 goals and 30 assists, along with 85 block shots and 74 hits. And here's the kicker. He finished with a +8 rating on a Devils team that wasn't exactly setting the world on fire defensively. But those numbers only tell part of the story. Over his career, Hamilton has been one of the most consistently productive offensive defensemen in the NHL. We're talking about 501 points in 835 games. That's 151 goals and 350 assists from the blue line. Remember that insane 2022 to 2023 season when he put up 74 points, including 22 goals? Yeah, that Hamilton. He can still bring that kind of offensive firepower when he's clicking. So where does Toronto fit into all of this? Well, buckle up, because this is where things get really interesting and potentially controversial for some Leafs fans. The Maple Leafs have been on an identity shift this season. We've seen in the way they play, the way they approach games, the emphasis on a more complete two-way style. Brad Treliving in the front office have been crystal clear about wanting to build a team that can win in the playoffs, not just dominate the regular season. And while Morgan really has been a loyal soldier for Toronto, wearing the C at times and being a presence on that blue line for over a decade, there's been growing whispers about whether he's the right fit for where this team is headed. Don't get me wrong, Rielly is a talented player, but at this stage of his career, with his particular skill set and contract, does he represent the best use of Toronto's resources? Or is there a better option out there that could elevate this defense to another level? Enter Dougie Hamilton. Imagine adding Hamilton to Toronto's defensive core. Suddenly, you got a legitimate power play quarterback who can run the man advantage with surgical precision. You've got a defenseman who isn't afraid to jump into the rush, who can distribute the puck with accuracy, and who brings a legitimate shooting threat from the point. Hamilton routinely fires 75 to 80 block shots per season, delivers 60 to 70 hits, and most importantly, chips in 10 to 15 goals annually. That's the kind of production that makes coaches smile. But it's not just about defensive numbers. Hamilton's defensive game is underrated. At 32 years old, he's still mobile enough to handle the modern NHL speed, and his size gives him a massive advantage in board battles and in front of the net. He's the kind of player who can shut down opposing top lines while also contributing at the other end of the ice. That two-way capability is exactly what the Leafs have been craving. Now, here's where the rubber meets the road. Making a trade like this work means Toronto would almost certainly have to part ways with Morgan Rielly. The contracts are almost identical in terms of cap hit, which makes the money work from a pure number standpoint. But the emotional and cultural impact, that's where things get complicated. Rielly has been with this organization through thick and thin. He's seen the rebuilds, the false starts, the playoff disappointments. He's been a steady presence in the locker room, a mentor to younger players, and a face of the franchise. Trading him wouldn't just be a hockey decision. It would be a statement about the direction of the team. But sometimes, tough decisions need to be made. And if we're being brutally honest with ourselves, has Rielly been the difference maker in the playoffs that Toronto desperately needs? Has his game elevated in the moments that matter most? Those are uncomfortable questions, but they're questions that need be asked. The beauty of a potential Hamilton for Rielly swap is that it addresses multiple needs without blowing up the roster. You're essentially replacing one top four defenseman with another, but you're getting someone who brings a different dimension to the game. Hamilton's ability to quarterback the power play could be transformative for Toronto's special teams. His shot from the point adds another weapon that opposing penalty kills have to respect. And his physical presence gives the Leafs something they've lacked at times, that imposing figure on the back end who can dominate in the defensive zone. Think about what Toronto's blue line could look like with Hamilton in the mix. You have a legitimate number one defenseman who can play in all situations, eat major minutes, and contribute offensively at an elite level. Pair him with someone like Jake McCabe or Chris Tanev, and suddenly you've got a shutdown pairing that can also transition the puck effectively and contribute to the attack. And let's not forget about the power play implications. Toronto has one of the most lethal power plays in the league when it's clicking, but having Hamilton running the point would add another dimension entirely. Opposing penalty kills would have to respect not just Matthews and Marner, but also a legitimate shooting threat from the blue line who can pick corners from distance. That opens up more space for everyone and makes the unit that much more dangerous. But timing is everything in hockey, and that's where Saravalli's report becomes even more intriguing. He mentions that while something could happen now, the trade deadline in March seems like the more likely scenario. That gives both teams time to evaluate their situations, see how the season plays out, and make the move when it makes the most sense. For New Jersey, they're probably waiting to see how serious their pursuit of Quinn Hughes becomes. If they get real traction on that front, Hamilton gets moved sooner. If not, maybe they hold on to him and reassess at the deadline. But either way, all signs point to Hamilton being available, and Toronto needs to be ready to pounce when the opportunity presents itself. From Toronto's perspective, they need to determine whether Rielly fits into their long-term plans. If they believe he does, then maybe Hamilton isn't the target. But if they're being honest about wanting to shift the identity of this team, about building something that can win when the games matter most in April, May, and June, then a player like Hamilton represents exactly the kind of upgrade that could make the difference. There's also the contractual side to consider. Both players have significant term left on their deals, which means this isn't a rental situation. If Toronto makes this move, they're committing to Hamilton as a cornerstone piece for the foreseeable future. That requires conviction in the scouting, confidence in the player's ability to maintain his level, and belief that he's the right fit for this group. The risk, of course, is that you're trading a known commodity for something different. Rielly, for all his perceived limitations, has never been a problem in the locker room. He's been a professional through and through, and there's value in that stability. Hamilton, while tremendously talented, has bounced around the league a bit and has had his share of ups and downs. But at 32, with his experience and skill set, he represents a calculated risk that could pay massive dividends. As we head toward the deadline, keep your eyes on this situation because it is all the makings of a blockbuster. Frank Saravalli doesn't drop names like Hamilton's casually. When he says someone is on the trade target board, you better believe there's legitimate interest from multiple teams. Toronto needs to be aggressive here. They can't afford to sit back and watch another opportunity slip away. The window is open right now for this Maple Leafs team. They've got elite talent up front, solid goaltending, and a coach who's getting the most out of his roster. But to truly take that next step, to break through and finally achieve what this franchise has been chasing for decades, they might need to make a bold move. Trading Morgan Rielly, as painful as it might be for some fans, could be that move. And if it means bringing in someone like Dougie Hamilton, someone who can elevate the defense and add that two-way threat that's been missing, then it's a move worth making. So Leafs Nation, what do you think? Is it time to move on from Morgan Rielly and bring in Dougie Hamilton? Would you make that trade straight up? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear from you because this is the kind of debate that hockey fans live for. And if you're enjoying this content and want to stay up to date on all the latest Leafs news and trade rumors, smash that like button and make sure you're subscribed. We're going to be tracking this Hamilton situation closely, and you won't want to miss a single update as we head toward what could be one of the most consequential trade deadlines in recent Maple Leafs history.